fancy kitchen, Ruby machine shop. Dora and Maria sent to clean. Now, come on, girls, keep the noise down. Come on. That's them ready, Miss Flaxton.
Where's Madge Boyle?
Madge? Well, she was here.
She's missing.
No. Come on, Madge, hurry up. Come on, Kate, come on, out you come.
Warren, Boyle, get out here at once. Come along, then. Did you hear? Join your working party. I'm not going to wait any longer.
So get lost.
What did you say?
I said, if you want the floors cleaned or the dishes washed, do it yourself.
Right, Warren, that's enough. You're on Governor's report.
Come on, Madge.
You heard Boyle. Get out here.
No.
Do you want to be on report too?
Don't you understand? We are not coming out.
You will do as I say.
Try and make us. This is a protest, a legitimate protest against exploitation. What are you all laughing about? You're just giving in to the system.
Lock her in.
Giving in? Don't you see? Well, why do you let them get away with it?
You're refusing to work.
I want my rights.
I want inside. Now, the rest of you, get moving or you'll spend the day banged up and on report.
Look, we better not rumbling for one more.
You weren't there, Miss Chapman.
I didn't have to be to know exactly what happened.
Indeed.
You didn't try to talk to the women to find out what was wrong. You just started giving them orders.
That'll be the day when I start asking the women if they've any objections to being detailed for work.
It was a gesture, madam.
And what did you hope to achieve?
Well, it was... Oh, it's all pointless.
No, what were you going to say? You can speak quite freely.
It's the mindlessness of it, madam. Oh, I know we've got to work. That's the system. But it's the lack of opportunity for any meaningful kind of work. I was a personnel officer before I came in here with a whole department of girls under me. And Madge was a nursing sister. But we're both used to responsibility. The futile little jobs we're given to doing here. Well, it's more degrading than being locked up.
Yes, I can understand how you feel, but I'm afraid the only work available in Stone Park is simple and routine, but it has to be done.
Yes, madam.
Whereas I can appreciate your complaint, there are other ways in which it could have been made to Miss Chapman or to me personally, without trying to incite the women.
Yes, madam.
It's a case of having to accept what can't be changed. For the incitement to unrest, I shall give you 1 day's loss of pay. That's all. Right. Do I detect a tinge of disapproval?
Seems a bit lenient, the award, madam.
Well, I can't help sympathizing with her. The work available here is mindless.
My sympathy is with my officers, madam.
In what way?
Well, when a woman's booked, if the punishment she's given seems too mild, it makes it all the harder to maintain discipline afterwards. The inmates get more difficult, and the officers lose heart.
Yes, well, I'm quite sure that the women will respond better if they know that they're going to get a fair hearing.
That's a theory, madam.
You were both lucky that time. Get them back to their wing. They're to stay in their rooms till lunchtime.
Oh, who's next?
Jessup, Hilda, application to see the governor.
Oh, yes, Dr. Jessup. Has she settled in?
Provided you don't get into an argument with her.
I gather you don't care for her very much.
Oh, she's a disturbing influence, madam. Oh, she's in here by her own choice, refusing to pay rent, rates, national health income tax.
There are times I can't help cheering her.
Of course, madam, that's what she wants, public support. She claims to be an individualist. She's just an old-fashioned anarchist.
Well, her theories may be antisocial, but she's chosen a pretty dramatic way to publicise them. 18 months inside, she must be sincere. Have you read any of those articles of hers on prison reform in that magazine?
What, Freedom and Action? Oh, I read the first two, but they were so biased. I haven't bothered with any of the others.
Some of the points she made are quite valid. All right, let's have her in.
Jessup! The book.
Jessup, Hilda, 71029. It wasn't an offensive weapon, you know, madam.
I didn't think you brought it here to throw it at me, but it is against regulations.
Regulations, of course.
Now, what can I do for you, Dr. Jessup?
Well, as you may know, madam, I'm a writer.
Yes.
I was halfway through a politico-social autobiography when I was sentenced, but I understand from Miss Chapman that I'm not allowed to have either writing materials or a typewriter without your permission.
That is correct.
I've come to ask for that permission.
I see.
I thought that being in here, I would at least have a chance to complete it.
I'd like to say yes, Dr. Jessup, but I can't.
You mean you refuse?
If you let me finish. I can't agree automatically. It has to be approved by the Home Office.
You have to cover yourself.
I have to go through the proper channels. Of course, you do realize that if they do agree, everything that you write and send out will have to be censored.
Censored.
To make sure that you haven't written about other prisoners or your conditions in here while you're still serving a sentence.
There can be no justification for that.
It's to protect the rights of others.
I take it I'm being penalized
Why?
for the stand I've taken against the establishment.
The process would be just the same whether you were writing Das Kapital or a cookery book. It's quite impartial. I can only state it, I can't argue about it. Now, do you wish me to forward your request or not?
If you please.
Very well. I've been reading your articles in Freedom in Action.
I hope you found them informative.
I was going to say I found them interesting. You are a doctor of political economy, aren't you?
Yes?
I didn't know that covered the prison service.
Oh, my interest is from the sociological point of view, the denial of prisoners' rights, the inadequacy of treatment, and official attitudes. I wondered when you'd bring the articles up. They, of course, were written before I was arrested, and therefore can't be censored.
That probably explains why they're so uninformed.
If they're so uninformed, perhaps you'd care to answer publicly, madam.
Personally, no. Professionally, I wouldn't be allowed to.
So you take refuge in silence?
Oh, no. My opinions are quite well known. I've written several books myself, Dr. Jessup, 2 of them on the care and treatment of prisoners. If you read them, I think you'll find that I cover most of the points you made.
By sweeping them under the carpet.
By trying to suggest a solution.
When a system is unjust and inefficient, it shouldn't be patched up, but scrapped altogether.
I'm sorry, Doctor. I'd hoped that your first-hand experience of our problems would have given you a more positive attitude. I'll forward your request to the Home Office, let you know their result as soon as possible.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you.
You're right. A formidable lady.
The trouble is, so many people listen to her.
I think you'll settle down now. He's only teething. How are you?
Hi.
Feeling any better?
Oh, yeah, just dandy. Get you a cup of coffee.
No, sit still, I'll do it.
Oh, I can still put a kettle on.
The health visitor said you were to take things easy.
I go mad just sitting about the house all day with Crispin screaming.
You'll soon be over it, love.
Yes, then it'll be time for the next one to be born. It's ridiculous.
It happened, Beth. We've just got to put up with it.
Well, we should never have let it happen. At least with only one, I could have got a job.
Darling, I've told you over and over again. You don't need to work. You'll have enough to do looking after 2 children.
So what are we supposed to live on, the way prices are?
We'll manage. Now, do you want me to fix you something to eat before I leave?
Are you going in?
Well, of course. I took the morning off because you weren't well. I can't just stay away for the whole day.
They wouldn't mind. All you do is keep an office warm. The omniscient Mrs. Boswell will take care of everything.
prison has its rules, it runs itself. Listen to this. The squalor of the buildings is only matched by the callous inhumanity of the staff. But what can you expect from people chosen for their lack of creative intelligence and their inability to take personal responsibility? A day without incident, without hope or progress is the ideal of the authorities of Stone Park. Another day nearer to their safe pensions. Another day of blank despair for the women in their charge.
You think that woman's articles are the real picture, don't you?
Oh, I didn't used to. I used to think what she was doing was worthwhile. Now I've begun to wonder.
Beth, I'm sick of you quoting that Jessup woman's articles. She only sees things from one point of view.
Well, so do you.
I know what I'm talking about.
Well, so does she. For years, I've only ever heard one side of the argument. It's a relief to hear the other women's side put properly for a change.
Beth, if you're looking for a fight, I'm not going to give you one. I don't think I'll have any coffee. I'll see you tonight.
She was arguing about the job at all, Charles.
We had none of this trouble when she was having Crispy. She was happy, looking forward all the time.
Yes, well, probably when she adjusts to the idea, she'll be the same again, but you have to be very understanding.
I try to be, but she's always needling me about my job.
Well, she knows it takes you away from her. She resents it. She knows how important it is to you.
But that's so irrational.
Well, you don't ask a woman who's pregnant to be rational, Charles. All you have to do now is prove to her that she comes first.
Yeah, I suppose so. I wish I'd never let her read the first of that Jessup woman's articles. She buys that rag now every week just for them.
I'll see what I can do, Madge.
Miss Chapman, excuse me. Would you mind telling Rose that if she wants to send another letter, she must pay for the stamp herself?
That's right, Rose. You get one free letter and you can have one more if you pay for the stamp.
Why should I pay for the stamp? The government put me here. The government owns the post office. It doesn't cost them anything. Why should I pay for it?
That's the rule.
It's a bloody silly rule. I have to work a whole day in here to earn enough money for one stamp.
Well, costs keep going up.
But our pay doesn't. And why can I only write 2 letters? I've got a big family, all over the place. Why can't I write to them?
If you really need to send more letters, make an application to see the governor and ask for her permission.
Her? What's the use of talking to her?
I've been to your old firm several times, and at last I got in to see the managing director. I think he's going to offer you your old job back.
What, just like that?
Oh, not quite. He wants a letter from you to confirm that what I said is the truth and that you wish to be reinstated.
You mean he wants me to crawl to him?
I've hardly put it like that. Naturally, he wants an assurance from you.
That I'll be a good little girl.
Look, Kate, I have worked...
Miss Warren. What right have you got to call me Kate as if I was somebody's skivvy?
What's got into you? Look, I have spent weeks working to get you your old job back.
I'm getting such a kick out of it. You weren't thinking about me. To help people, you've got to care about them, about what's important to them.
All right. What's important to you?
Dignity. You sold me, but you wouldn't care about that. You're just like the screws. You make me sick.
But Madge Boyle was a nursing sister outside.
Yes, I know.
All I'm asking is a little cooperation. If she could even work as an orderly on the hospital wing, it could make all the difference.
Well, that's not possible.
Why not?
Because of the other nurses. They feel very strongly about members of their profession who go off the rails.
She took the jewellery from that old woman's house on impulse. She'd been looking after her for nearly 5 years with the promise she'd be left something in her will. She just took what she thought she was owed.
She became a thief, and no amount of double talk can alter that.
Peter, I've spoken to Mrs. Boswell, and she agrees. Madge has nothing left, not even her self-respect. Without that, she's lost.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put it to the nurses. If they agree, we'll find something for Madge.
Thanks.
Okay?
I'm just not interested, Miss Chapman.
Madge, I know it's not much to start with, but the hospital's understaffed. Dr. May says you'll soon be doing more and more.
I couldn't care less.
But this will give you the chance to do something useful again.
For what? So that some official nurse can put her feet up? They get paid for it. I don't.
Madge, what do you want?
You don't get it, do you? I wasn't protesting about the kind of work, but about the injustice of having to do any work for insulting pay. You've got a labour force of slaves breaking their backs to earn less in the week than the price of one packet of cigarettes.
Come in.
Can we tempt you to come in for a drink, Faye?
No, thank you, Charles. I'm waiting for Bill.
I thought he was in Amsterdam for 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, he was, but there's some boardroom crisis in his firm. He flew back this afternoon.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you can't join us.
You should be going home, Charles.
Well, the pub's on the way home.
Governor. West Wing. Is Miss Chapman there? All right. Thank you, Mrs. Spencer. I'll be right down. Don't do anything till I get there.
On a very large but single country. An American is more like a
Women who are not on education or craft refuse to go back to their cells.
Refuse?
They just won't do what they're told.
Have you told them they'll all be put on report?
You should isolate the ringleaders and deal with them.
That would make the others toe the line.
Right. Mrs. Armitage and Lynn, you come with me.
I've only just arrived, madam. Mrs. Spencer's on duty.
Do you know who's behind it?
Whoever it is playing it cool, madam. No one seems to be acting as spokesman.
I see.
Silence! Stop talking and stand still. All of you, stay where you are.
All right. Now, what's this all about? Warren.
We're on free association, madam.
You know perfectly well that this is the time for crafts and education. Those of you who are not enrolled have to stay in your rooms.
Well, we don't see why we should, madam.
Because it's quite impossible for the instructor or the classes to concentrate while the rest of you are talking and moving about.
Well, then the classes should be held somewhere else, madam.
We have to use the space we have. It's unfortunate, but unavoidable.
It's not our fault.
No. And we don't see why those who've applied for instruction should be allowed to stay out, while the rest of us have to be locked inside.
Very well. There'll be no further classes tonight.
And
there'll be no free association either. You can all go back to your cells.
You heard the governor. Move!
Right, take your chairs back to your rooms.
Come on, the rest of you, get ready.
Well, that should bring them to their senses.
It must do. That'll put an end to it.
I wonder.
Hello, darling.
Hello, darling. How was the board meeting?
Oh, only the first of several, I'm afraid. There's trouble among the shareholders.
Bad?
Well, there's talk of rationalisation, which could mean cutbacks.
Oh, no.
Including the Amsterdam project.
Oh.
Well, I'll fight it, but I need cheering up.
Oh, I could do with some cheering up myself.
Oh, what's wrong?
Oh, just about everything. You know, there are moments when I could knock their heads together.
The women?
All of them, the staff included.
Yeah, take it easy.
I am sick and tired of taking it easy. Now, look, I've been here nearly 2 years now, trying to build up a team, and they're still all pulling in different directions. Uniformed officers are up in arms against the welfare department. Miss Clark doesn't think that we're permissive enough. Naturally, Mrs. Armitage thinks that we've gone too far. Martha Parrish sits on a fence, law unto herself. Oh, Lynn Chapman has the right attitude, but has no idea how to control and wing. Naturally, the women take advantage of it. And as for Charles Radley...
Charles, too? You said he was the best deputy you could hope for.
Well, in some ways he is.
What's he done wrong?
About the worst thing possible, he's allowed his problems at home to interfere with his work.
Has Beth been needling him again?
Well, she's been left to cope too much on her own. He doesn't understand this. That's his problem and his limitations here. Never learned to understand women.
Has anybody?
I'm sorry, darling. I didn't mean to take it out on you, but I just felt I had to let fly once. Otherwise, I would have taken it out on my staff.
Come on, darling. What we need's a quiet evening at home.
What I need is a jolly good dinner and a couple of drinks too much and forget that Stone Park ever existed.
Probably the best thing for both of us. Where shall we go?
Oh, let's go to the Chinese restaurant.
Hello, love.
You're late.
Yes, I'm a bit.
Over 2 hours.
We had a spot of bother. I was held up.
You could have let me know. Your dinner's nearly spoiled.
Sorry, love. Come on.
You've been drinking.
Well, I had one with Peter Mays on the way home.
Yes, you had time to go to the pub with Peter, but you couldn't find time to ring me.
That's not fair, Beth. Oh, sorry, love, but you didn't used to mind.
Didn't used to happen so often.
Well, I am sorry. I mean it.
I'll get you dinner.
Aren't you going to have anything?
I'm not hungry.
Beth, look, let's just talk for a minute. I know I've made things pretty rotten for you just lately. Well, this afternoon I had a talk with Faye.
What about? Me?
No. I told her how I felt about the job. I told her that I wouldn't be able to do as much as I used to just at the moment. You and Crispin have got to come first.
Did you tell her that? You do realise it could hurt your career? She'll probably think you're planning to leave.
Well, I was only thinking of you. I thought that's what you wanted.
Oh, I don't know what I want at the moment.
All right, love, come on.
I don't know what's the matter with me.
You've had to do too much. I've not been much help.
It isn't your fault.
A lot of it is. But I'll make it up to you. You remember the first few months just after Crispin was born? It was fun, wasn't it? Well, with a new baby, it'll be even better. We'll be that much closer. Oh, no, his timing's perfect.
I better go up to him.
No, sit still. I'll do it. I'll let him cry. It's good for the lungs.
I'm sorry I've been horrible to you.
Not.
I have, like this morning. I've always been jealous of Mrs. Boswell. I hate the thought of you always being number 2.
Oh, I'll make governor one day.
Yes, I know. When that woman said you were a dropout with no future, a faceless civil servant, I couldn't bear it.
What woman?
Well, the magazine. I started to read it to you this morning.
Dr. Jessup? She wrote that about me?
I understand it was Flaxen. What I mean, they're just sitting there. Oh, and you asked me
Well, what is it this time?
Well, the prisoners went back to their cells after breakfast. When they were called for work, they wouldn't come out, none of them.
It's spread to my wing now as well, Governor.
What are they doing?
No noise, no racket. They're just sitting there, refusing to come out.
It's a strike.
Miss Flaxen?
I just can't make them see reason, Governor.
What are they doing?
Well, it's about boring work and low pay. They say they won't come out until their daily rates increase.
Perhaps if you spoke to them, Governor.
No, that's what some of them want, and I'm not entering into any arguments. Very well. If they're determined to stay in their cells, let them. Lock all the doors.
It'll be a pleasure, madam.
And you can do the same on South Wing, Miss Parrish.
How long are they to stay locked?
Until they're ready to come out. The faint-hearted will ask to be let out first. Those who put them up to it will be the last. We'll soon find out who the ringleaders are.
But I'd worked very hard on Kate Warren's behalf. Her attitude just stunned me.
She hasn't always been like this.
No, she's changed in the last few weeks. The trouble is, it's an attitude that's spreading amongst the other women. Now, even some of the junior welfare officers have been unsettled by it. Well, they see themselves on the women's side. Their work's become affected.
Well, I'm afraid it's all part of the disturbance that's spreading throughout the prison and from the same source.
You think Warren and Jessup are behind it?
Oh, I'm pretty certain of it, using others like Madge Boyle, but I can't prove it.
What are they after?
To create as much disruption as possible. I don't imagine they think we'll give in to them. Come in.
Good morning, Governor.
Morning, Charles. Heard the news?
Yes, I can't say I'm surprised. Tried to phone you last night.
What about?
This. Dr. Jessup has singled me out for attention.
Given a unique opportunity, the well-groomed Charles Radley, with his neatly trimmed moustache, is in fact a dropout with no ambition, settling for a secure administrative post, content to take and give routine orders, a faceless civil servant.
Oh, charming.
Well, she's entitled to her opinion, of course. But this is the latest article. Now, how come she could describe my appearance before we'd even met?
Yes. So, contrary to her claims, these articles were not written before she was arrested, but are being written now while she's in prison. May I come in, Dr. Jessup?
Surely that's rather a superfluous question, madam.
A simple courtesy, like you standing just now.
I was obeying the regulations.
I see. Well, do sit down. I know how the regulations offend you.
To what do I owe the honor, madam?
I've been wanting to have a talk with you for quite some time now. I've just been reading the latest of your articles on prison reform. In it, you criticize and describe Charles Radley, the deputy. And now, since this is the only appointment of its kind, it occurs to me that these articles are being written now, rather than before you were admitted to Stone Park.
Which would no doubt be a punishable offence. However, my information came from a long-term prisoner released under licence 6 months ago.
No doubt.
Did you want anything else, madam?
Yes. How long is this pointless strike to go on?
Why ask me? I simply obeyed the herd instinct. Since they stayed in their cells, so did I.
And why do you think they stayed in their cells?
Perhaps because they don't consider the strike so pointless, after all. They are protesting against a system which is designed to degrade them. Dull, routine work which would be an insult to a child's intelligence, for a salary which a child would reject.
I've been trying to arrange for some time now for more productive employment at a fairer rate for the job.
And nothing has been done.
The fault is not with us, but with the unions outside, who are opposed to any prisoner doing work that can be done by their members. Now, I've been trying to win their cooperation, but this cannot be brought about by unofficial action. Can't you see that any prison strike is self-defeating?
How?
Because it only can lead to more repressive and stricter measures in the future, with disciplinary action taken against those involved.
Repression, disciplinary action. That's all your department thinks of. The only answer it has, while the most fundamental needs of the women it pretends to care for are ignored.
Can you identify those needs?
The basic human necessity of freedom, even in captivity. Freedom of choice, freedom of movement, of contact with others, the choice of how and where to spend their days to create an environment of their own. That's what prisoners need to heal the hurt of imprisonment, to cure the maladjusted and prepare them for a return to normal life. Freedom to develop their intrinsic talents as human beings.
Our aims are not so different, Dr. Jessup. But I'm just trying to find a more practical method of achieving them.
You should be glad of the strike, then. It will draw the general public's attention to our aims.
The general public won't be aware of them, and the strike won't be reported. It'll be over by tomorrow.
How can you be sure?
Because for each day in voluntary cellular confinement, the women will be given 1 day's loss of pay. I think very few of them will find that their convictions are strong enough to withstand that. And you are right, Dr. Jessup. No action will be taken against the leaders because there are no leaders.
Are you sure?
Quite sure. No one prisoner is strong enough to direct all the women on one wing, let alone 2. These things peter out.
Sit down. Well, I dare say you can come back for a second help. Come along, Madge. Come back before you get here, if you're not careful.
Any trouble?
They're all behaving as if nothing had happened.
Ah, it's the same on South Wing.
Thank you, Miss Worth.
Come on, Rose, here you are.
Ooh, beans. They always make me feel so sexy. Come to think of it, anything does.
You better take a cold bath.
Oh, I've had so many. Do you know I nearly turned blue? Black and blue.
Is there going to be no action taken? Are they just going to get away with it?
Apparently.
You made an application to see me, Dr. Jessup?
Yes, madam. I wanted to remind you that I made a request for writing material and a typewriter.
Yes, well, I haven't had Home Office approval yet. I'll let you know their decision as soon as it comes through.
Perhaps it could be speeded up. I should also like direct access to my publisher.
I'm afraid that's not possible.
Why not?
I've already explained to you, Dr. Jessup, that anything that you write in prison has to be read. Sympathetically, I can assure you, but only then, if it's approved, can you send it to your publisher.
I should like the ruling changed in my case.
No doubt, but that's not possible either.
Oh, I think it is. The impossible does happen here. Like that strike ending. Of course, it could always start again. Much less easy to put down.
Is that a threat?
Merely an observation, madam, from experience. I'm sure the Home Office would like my cooperation.
Very well. I'll discuss it with the department.
Right.
Thank you, madam.
So, we can expect more trouble at any time.
Yes. I think we might. So now we're fully aware of the problem.
I just can't believe it, Governor. Women in prison are never capable of acting together for any length of time.
No, for once I agree with Miss Parrish. No one woman is capable of controlling them all.
Well, we've just seen the exception, Miss Clark. The strike stopped soon after I called Dr. Jessup's bluff. She couldn't resist showing me the hold that she had over the women.
They'll follow her right enough, Miss Clark. Some out of conviction, others just to break the monotony.
As I see it, she hasn't really committed a breach of discipline, no more than any of the others.
Exactly, Peter, and the moment we try to touch her, she'll scream victimization.
It may even be what she wants. She's disappointed because she's been treated reasonably. She wants harsh treatment to lend conviction to her articles and to her cause. Make them seem more believable.
Oh, she's not going to stop, then. I hate to say it, but I think we're going to have to play along with her to some
I will
extent.
not be coerced by a prisoner.
No, of course not.
Perhaps, Miss Clark, instead of suggesting we should give in, you might try to find out how she's smuggling these articles out.
Are you suggesting one of the welfare officers is concerned? Well, no, I resent that.
Oh, now, please, that will do. We have all got to be in agreement. One thing I'm determined is not to have an open confrontation with those women. Jessup is the catalyst. I'm sure we haven't heard the last of her demands, so she'll have to be treated very carefully.
Yes, Governor.
Oh, I know I had quite a high opinion of her at one time, but I was wrong. She's not a martyr. She's not a freedom fighter. She's just another manipulating prisoner. Governor. Yes? Yes? Yes. Yes, I see. Right.
What is it, Governor?
It was an outside call. It was from your husband, Mrs. Armitage. Your daughter's been involved in a car crash. A rather bad one, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, I'd better... Will you excuse me?
Yes, of course.
Oh, I'll drive you home.
Thank you.
Who's the call from?
Where?
Molly.
Ted, what's happened? Look, this is Miss Clark and Dr. Mace. They brought me home.
Are you all right, Mr. Armitage?
Where's our Ellen? Is she bad?
In a hospital in Salford. She's pretty smashed up, they say.
Do you know what happened?
Len, her chap, was taking her and our little granddaughter, Samantha, to Manchester for the weekend. They live in Carlisle. They were on the M Road. Len was killed outright.
Oh. And Samantha,
What about her? Did they say?
No, love. There were 6 or more cars involved. She just seems to have disappeared.
Well, the meeting showed the company's none too healthy, I'm afraid.
Well, they're not going bankrupt or anything.
No, I think it'll pull through. The main problem is that some of the American money's been withdrawn. We were depending on that, so some cuts have to be made. There's talk of redundancies.
Are you involved?
Well, my own job's not immediately threatened. Still, there's always a possibility.
Bill.
It's the cutting back on areas of investment, you see. The Amsterdam project's been shelved for the time being.
Oh, darling, I am sorry. I know how much that meant to you. Come in.
Oh, I'm
Hello,
sorry.
Peter.
Hello.
Yes, come
Hello,
in.
Peter.
How's Mrs. Armitage?
Well, she's fine now.
Any news of the little girl?
Yes. Yes, Liz Clark phoned the local police. Apparently, several ambulances went to the scene of the accident, and in the confusion, Samantha was taken to a different hospital from her mother. It seems that, miraculously, she has escaped injury.
Oh, thank God for that.
Well, Liz has driven Mrs. Armitage up to see her daughter. She's in the intensive care unit.
Have they told you how serious it is?
It sounds very serious. She's skull and chest damage, and she's very weak.
Oh, my God. Oh, poor Mrs. Armitage.
I stayed on for a while just to keep her husband company. He's not strong, and he's very worried. Evidently, Mrs. Armitage and her daughter have been estranged for 2 or 3 years.
Yes, well, I've always known there was some kind of argument.
Well, it's the old story. They fell out over the man the daughter is living with. He turned Ellen against her mother, and every time they meet, they row. She's never even seen her granddaughter.
Well, I didn't know it was as bad as that.
Well, that's why Ted Armitage is worried.
Is he on his own there?
Yes, I have a heavy clinic this afternoon. I had to get back.
Well, I'm just on my way home. I think I'll look in on him, see
Oh,
if there's
darling,
anything I
yes,
can
that
do.
would be nice.
Ellen? Hello?
Hello, Mum.
How'd you feel?
I can hardly feel anything.
Oh. That's good.
Sammy?
She's fine. They're taking good care of her.
It's all right. I know about Len.
They told you?
I kept asking for it.
We never got on, but I'm sorry.
Oh, why? Why did these things happen?
I don't know, love.
It's so unfair.
It always seems so. We just have to accept them.
If it hadn't been for Sammy, I'd have wanted to die too.
Oh, Ellen, don't say that.
I didn't think you'd come.
You knew I would. Your dad sends his love. He wanted to come with me, but...
No, he mustn't.
No.
But you'll stay with me?
Yes, as long as I can. They only give you a few minutes, but I'll come as often as I can.
They said I might be in here for weeks.
Yes, I know. They told me. We just have to think that you've been lucky. We
just have to feel grateful.
Grateful?
Look, I'm tiring you.
Oh, no, no, you're not. Please, don't go.
No, I won't.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry for everything.
Oh, Ellen, don't talk about it. It's all over now.
Sammy, I'm so worried about Sammy.
She's fine. Really?
Oh, but she won't know what's happening to her, you see. She'll be so frightened.
The nurses will take good care of her.
Oh, it's not the same.
Do you want me to look after her?
Oh, Mum. Would you?
And if that's what you want.
Oh, Mum.
No, Ellen, don't cry, love. Shush, shush.
Get a move on. What are you playing at? What's going on?
I don't know, Mrs. Spencer.
Here they come. Win a prize in a slow walking contest. 10 minutes from the sewing shop to here. Pick your feet up. And what do you two think you're doing? Come on, put your backs into it.
It's the same all over the prison. Slow motion, passive resistance is another form of strike.
I'm afraid it's starting again.
Only this time it's not confined to the wings, it's spread everywhere.
And this time they're making sure they don't do anything illegal. They're making use of the new rights they have.
Nearly all of them are making applications to see you, madam, or the chaplain, or the welfare officers.
The hospital wing is swamped. They're queuing at the chiropodists, at the oculists, even the gynecologists. All the clinics are full of women waiting to be examined.
Apart from the workshops, which are virtually empty, there's hardly anyone to work in the kitchen or do the cleaning.
The staff's barely able to cope.
I spend most of my time dealing with a flood of requests for visits, extra letters, and processing applications.
The longer it goes on, the worse it'll get.
Now, I can't refuse those applications, and unless something is done, and done quickly, we are going to end up in chaos.
Firmness is essential, madam. We shall have to take strong measures.
Yes, but what, Miss Parrish? You say yourself they're doing nothing illegal.
Well, we can't just let them get away with it. How will the women ever get back to normal?
There's the old rule. You don't need an exact reason. Any officer who considers that a woman's behaviour or attitude is contrary to good order can put her in a charge.
Yes, well, I've never liked that rule, and I'm certainly not going to use it now.
Governor!
No, Miss Parrish. That's precisely what Dr. Jessup is hoping for, to give her an excuse to start a riot. In an explosive situation like this, it would be inevitable.
Well, we've got to do something.
Yes. Well, leave it to me. And I want you to pass the word. The women are not to be provoked.
Your visitor's here, Kate. I'm sorry, Miss Warren. Come on.
Just a minute. In there, Warren. What for? Just go in. Raise your arms. Raise them.
Is this how you get your kicks? Satisfied?
All that. Miss Chapman?
What do you mean, you found them?
On Kate Warren. She was going to smuggle it out during her visit. You don't deny it's your writing?
No.
Then I think you have some explaining to do, Dr. Jessup.
I don't see why.
That's your answer. Out there.
I advise you to be careful.
I don't need to be careful.
Oh, yes, I think you do. We've heard that noise before. It dies down a few hours after the women have finished with their excitement.
Well, this time it won't die down. We won't give in until our demands are met.
And what are your demands now? They keep changing.
No more locked doors. Better pay for better work. Unrestricted letters. And free association 24 hours a day.
If you had kept your demands to something that was reasonable and justified, I might have supported them and the department might have agreed to them. As it is, you've wasted every chance you've had. Your strike doesn't deserve to succeed. Take her back to her wing.
Did I understand you right, madam? You don't want her charged?
No.
But I caught her red-handed.
At the wrong time, Miss Flaxton. Just when I asked you to do nothing. Oh, I know, you were right to try to prevent smuggling, but...
I was doing my best, madam.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh. Perhaps I'd better get back to my wing.
I think you were too hard on her, Faye. After all, she did find out how Jessup was passing the stuff out.
Yes, and started the riot. Just what I tried to avoid.
Well, the riot started. It won't go away by us still trying to ignore it.
Governor, there's evidence of collusion and strong suspicion. Surely that's enough to take some action.
There was only one way to prevent the riot, and it's the only way to stop it.
How?
By making an example of Jessup and her accomplices as we should have done in the beginning.
Well, I don't agree. Oh, of course, at first Jessup tried to cause as much disruption as possible without being involved herself. Then she realized that wasn't enough. So she forced us into punishing her for offenses that were difficult to prove, so that she could pose as a victim of a vicious system.
Well, the only other way is to give in to some of the women's demands.
You think so? Governor. Oh, yes, put him on. It's the Home Office.
Now, I don't want any heroes. There will be a lot of noise and damage, but we must just let them tire themselves out so they'll be easier to handle when we move in. I've just been telling them, madam, we'll need to let the women tire themselves out.
Thank you, Mrs. Armitage. Well, I want you all to go back to your wings. When you hear from me, open the cell doors and behave as if everything was normal. It'll all be over tonight. I'll see Dr. Jessup now.
I've been expecting you, madam.
Yes, I thought you might. Collect your things.
What for?
You're being transferred.
To a punishment cell. You needn't think I'm afraid. I'm prepared to suffer in the fight against injustice.
Well, you've always maintained that you've done nothing wrong. I'm prepared to believe you. I've discussed your case with the Home Office and they agree that the conditions here are not suitable for a first offender. So you are being transferred to an open prison.
Do that?
Oh, but I can, Dr. Jessup. You are being transferred, and that's that. As soon as you're processed, you will leave Stone Park. Unfortunately not. She always seems so agitated after her visits that we decided it would be best for her to be sent to a prison nearer her home, on compassionate grounds. Goodbye, Dr. Jessup.
You've got to hand it to the governor. Get rid of the ringleaders and the protest just vanishes. Loss of a few days' remission all round, and it'll all be over in a week.
Yeah. Sending Dr. Jessup to an open prison. Well, she won't be able to make a martyr of herself there.
Oh, and the women won't back her up. They'll be too afraid of losing their privileges.
No doubt it's very clever, but I've had enough.
What do you mean?
I've had enough of seeing my work go for nothing, offenders getting off unpunished. In the old days, they'd have been in the strips and bread and water. I was in two minds during my leave, whether to come back or not. I made the wrong decision. This job isn't worth giving up my life for.
Give it time, Morag. Think it over.
I've had time. I've tried to adjust, but not anymore. There have been too many changes.
Now, look, don't be hasty. You're one of my best officers.
It's too late, Chief. I've already sent in my letter of resignation.
Thank you.
Well, you've won. Took me a little time to work out how you were going to manage it. I suppose I was a fool not to trust your judgment.
Well, quite frankly, Charles, I was disappointed in all of you. However, that's over now, and I've not won, as you put it. I've just put Jessup somewhere where she can do less damage. I've put an end to the disturbance, but I haven't cured the problems that caused it.